Previously on Disparate Worlds.
It was not in alphabetical order.
It's
So
anti-alphabetical
cake
order.
on my face, right?
Exactly.
I looked like a numpty. They dropped a huge development live stream on us in August 2022. In this episode, we're going to cover map changes and we're going to cover OpenSea PvP.
It was an hour and 45 minutes with only an hour of talking about art.
Right.
Let's talk about the Flat Vera. I mean, it's substantial. I mean, based on the difficulty of travel and all, and the fact you got oceans and you got PvP and you got dangerous PvE and being mounted doesn't save you. This is not that game. This is a game where getting from point A to point B, especially if it's a distance away, is going to be substantially difficult. Like, if I have a piece of wood and I go to get on the airship, will they, will I be pulled aside?
The TSA is going to get
screening?
you. Right. Yeah, most of our content we should probably split into 2 episodes and then throw both of them away. And now, the exciting conclusion.
Welcome to Disparate Worlds, where an irresistible force meets an immovable object. I'm Mox, and this is Sakari, and we are comparing and contrasting the worlds of Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and Ashes of Creation.
Yes, we are. Hello to you, friends. Welcome to this episode, where we both feel wholly inadequate.
Speak for yourself.
Oh no! For the task that we are up to in this episode.
Oh, probably.
Whatever you had in mind, not
in
that.
In that case, I'm probably inadequate.
Okay, yeah. We're wholly inadequate before the rumors start flying.
Yes.
So do the like and subscribe thing, please. We would love to have you as a part of our journey here, offering to the YouTube gods comments, notification about all of those things. Anything you can do to help us out, and please bail us out, because we are in desperate need of help. You know us. Indeed. All right, so this is episode number 2 in this quick 2-part series. Obviously, we are all aware that Intrepid dropped a huge August 2022 live stream on us, where they announced a bunch of changes to the map, for one, scaling up OpenSea PvP as another, node changes and caravan changes. Now, in our previous episode, we did our look at the map changes in the OpenSea PvP. We took a look at that. But node and caravan changes are going to be on the menu for discussion this episode. So stay tuned, and we'll get right into it straight ahead. All right, Mr. Mox, nodes. Tell us what you think about.
How did you talk me into talking 2 episodes in a row about Ashes of Creation?
All right. Hey, we had to split it up lest we make a 40-minute episode, right?
This is true, and we
promised
we have vowed not to do that. That is true.
we still struggle.
Yes.
But yes.
But, yeah. All right. So yeah. Actually, the node information was interesting. There's a lot of cool things, a lot of neat little mechanical things in there, a lot of moving parts.
Literally, especially when you're talking about the caravans.
Well, yes. You have to get a dad joke in at some point, don't you?
Hey, it's what I'm here for, right? I'll be here always.
I thought you were here to be pretty.
Pretty and funny, man.
I need to ask your wife.
All right, yeah, she's gonna be like, you can have him. All right, so yeah, there's a lot about nodes that came out. Okay, we're showing a graphic on screen right now of the graphic that they showed, which it helps things make a little sense to some folks. The wiki has had a similar graphic for a long time that shows kind of the relationship between nodes. How if you can get 1 to tier 6, right, we all know that the adjacent nodes lock out.
Right.
Or at least lock out from that tier. So they can only raise to tier 5, and then because it's there, the adjacent nodes can only raise to a certain level. So we have this diagram that emerges to help it make sense. Now, they call the parent node is now called a sovereign node, so we get used to using that nomenclature.
Ooh, fancy
word of the day. Right, and then vassal nodes. We've all known that the subservient, yes, master, work, nodes. Those are.
I do have a question for you.
Yes.
When did Ashes of Creation become multi-level marketing?
I don't know.
This looks like when
does.
when I got hit up with Amway back in the 90s.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's what it looks like.
Hey, it kind of happens in the taxes, right? If you're a vassal node, you got taxes that go to the boss.
Right.
You have to pay some taxes. You have to pay tribute. They should have named it that instead of taxes. Goodness.
Yeah. Should have.
If you're
that.
a vassal, you pay tribute. That's how it
right.
goes. Right, and that's one of the perks for a parent/sovereign node is that you can tax the lower nodes and they pay you tax, right? So that is understood. Now, we probably need to clarify on that. This is a good thing, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about New World.
I heard so many stories, almost on a daily basis. Like once we were about a month into New World, about guilds stealing all the money that players
because you could
put
withdraw
into.
from the treasury,
Right?
Because the town treasury became the guild's treasury, and any of the taxes that they made would be in the guild for the use of administering the town.
Yep.
But if you had withdrawal privileges, guess what you did?
And then there was a transfer mechanic that they had to put in because of the whole launch debacle. So people would yank all the gold out of the treasury. These unscrupulous guild leaders would yank all the money. They would transfer and change their names and disappear, like to another server with tons of
millions.
currency. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy amounts. So you cannot, as a player, access the funds. That this is a 100% gold sink, which removing money from a currency, from an economy, is like one of the huge things that MMOs have to deal with. And
less inflation, right?
Too many MMOs remove their money sinks because players complain about them. But it is super important to take money out of the economy so that you don't end up with a copper sword that costs 40,000 gold pieces. So the stuff that goes into these taxes and all can only be used to improve the node.
Yes. Now, and the way that works is, as the mayor, it is your responsibility to appropriate the funds. Now, there's a lot of node services, right? Like the guards, or you may be able to say, okay, let's establish an armory, or trigger a certain service in the node, whatever it is. Your administration. I mean, that's very good. I like that mayoral mechanic is there. But those funds stay in the node, and they're only allowed to be used for node purposes. Right. No withdrawals.
Now, here's a question for you. You ran a guild in New World where you had to run a town.
Yes,
and you had to make choices.
We took Everfull, baby. Absolutely,
right.
Yeah.
You had to make choices. You had to do this. Does this not sound super tedious? And what time will you have to play the game if you have to run a city?
It is one of the funnest things. So as much as you like to rag on elitism, right? There is an elitism that happens because if you're the mayor of the guild, now, big clarification.
Mayor of the node.
The mayor of the node, right? But if you're the leader of the guild, right? You've got in your whole guild that decides, hey, we're all going to vote for you. You have a huge block of voters.
Right.
That's kind of like guilds become political parties, is what I think happens in nodes.
Fair enough.
But it shouldn't be, hey, we're the guild that owns this node, even though I bet you people are going to try that.
It will, to a degree, what will end up happening, and we saw this in New World too. You're going to have, Guild A that's going to reach max size. So they will establish Guild B. Guild A and Guild B will work together to own nodes. And
alliances, right? But I think every guild would like its people to be the person. I don't think maybe in tier 3 you can see a guild owning a town, right?
Right.
Tier 4, tier 5, tier 6. It takes much more than even I think some of the largest guilds to be able to maintain a metropolitan node. I think
we
at that stage,
we don't know that. You haven't seen a metropolitan node, so you're saying that, but it may. And we don't. Do we know the size of guilds in Ashes yet?
I don't necessarily know. No.
So we don't know. Like if they have 1,000-person guilds.
But I think if you can put together 1,000-person guild, that's an eighth. So the server size is only 8,000 to 10,000 folks. They've said that, right? If you can put together 1,000-person guild, that's a tenth of the server,
Right.
Right. 10% of the server. That's a huge guild. Maybe you should be a bit of a fighting force when it comes to owning.
I mean, even 500 people. If the guilds are if the nodes are roughly evenly populated. I know it's never going to be perfectly balanced, but if they're roughly evenly populated, you're only talking about 800 people per node.
Yeah, I don't have as much faith in humans as you do to work together. You have vicious people. There's guild drama. Even if you manage to get there and hold it for some amount of time, over time, I think it would erode and stuff happens, right?
Fair enough.
So if you manage to become a despot for a little while, and hey, that's pretty cool in our server's history. But you get a reputation, right? I mean, it happens, and things fall apart. It is what it is.
It is.
People war against you. That's going to be half the fun. So
speaking of number of nodes, which I just alluded to, the previous iterations of Ashes in testing has been 103 nodes, and along with the map changes, they reduced the number of nodes by almost 18%. So from 103 down to 85. So less opportunities for people to control a node.
Okay.
Whether that be guilds or players or whoever, that's 18% less opportunities for mayors. So again, they've not I don't want to say they've doubled down, but they've definitely increased the elitism of this in that there's less chances for anyone to be the king. And to go one step further, there can only be 5 tier 6 nodes.
Right, so there's only 5 flying man people, right, as a result of that. Yeah, because apparently tier 6.
0.06% of the nodes can be max.
Yes.
Less than 1%.
Okay. By max, are you talking about level 6?
Yes.
Metropolitan nodes, okay. Okay, fair enough.
So you have only those 5 plus the castles. That's like what, 10 people on the server who can ever experience or
here's my counterpoint.
Yeah.
Over a decade of running the game, over 15 years of running the game, right? Yes, in a given moment, sure, you've got that, right? But over the course of how many years of running the game, people quit the game, new people start playing the game, they come out with an expansion, a bunch of people come back. There's enough evolution over the history of the server and the story it tells. Yeah, people get overthrown. Yeah, so there is elitism. I give you that. There is a degree to which there are only 5 mayors of tier 6 nodes out there ever at any one time. But over time, and you can always run against the current mayor.
Oh, not me. I don't want no parts of that. You can do it.
Can run. So
no.
All right. I don't want to belabor this too much. We've got to keep it moving, right? But
we do.
Yes, there's less nodes for sure. And it's one of the things that they did.
He gave reasons, Stephen did, for doing this. So why don't you tell our good victims what those were?
Okay, so really it's a matter of keeping the content that they have planned for the whole thing over the map. Right, if you've got, here's the map and here's all the content we have planned in it. If you have too many nodes in there, there's a lot of content, but it doesn't contribute meaningfully. So it's a matter, I think, of balancing so that the amount of content that's within an area contributes meaningfully to that area and its story. I think that's what this is. I think now there's some impact that they have to gauge, right? There's some player housing thoughts that we need to touch on as well. Do you want to get into that now? Talk about the effects on housing?
Now is fine, as good as any. So Stephen purported that this will have no effect on housing whatsoever. I disagree. No, okay. I don't. I mean, you and I agree, I think, but I don't think I agree with Stephen.
Okay, so in what respect? What do you think?
Number one, we're going to have 18% less available blocks of apartments.
Yes.
So, and the apartments are going to be the much more common type of housing.
Right.
So
okay, so
the
server capacity is a server capacity. That doesn't change, but there's less nodes supplying the same amount of demand. So it's going to be more expensive probably.
Right, exactly. So it's going to end up costing more. And I don't know, do nodes ever run out of apartments or are apartments unlimited?
No, I believe they're unlimited, but to my knowledge,
They
right
scale.
now.
Right. The first person buys it gets the cheapest one, and then it goes up.
The price scales by demand. Right? So the more people that want in, the more it's going to cost.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and we're still only talking about tier 3 and tier 4 nodes. So, yeah, I mean, we're reducing it probably even more than that because, again, less nodes can get to tier 5 and
now,
tier 4
now
and tier 3.
In node housing starts, you're going to get a house in a node.
Right.
There are a few slots of that, and I imagine that scales up with the size of the node as well, right? But it starts at tier 3, doesn't start below that.
Right.
So there's less nodes, so there's going to be less of that type of housing.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is less supply. I think there's less supply for the same amount of people. We're going to see in apartments higher prices for those who move late, not necessarily for those who move in early.
Right. Now, unless they've adjusted that sliding scale to be, or instead of being maybe, and I don't know how it was originally planned. If it was, apartment number 1, let's just say cost 1,000 gold. Apartment number 2 cost 1,005 gold. Apartment number 3 cost 1,010. I don't know if it was like that, or if it was apartments 1 through 20 cost 1,000 gold, and then 21 and up costs is it done by blocks? Is it a straight sliding scale? Again, we don't know. So unless they tweaked that sliding scale to account for the less or the more demand, exactly. So they may have taken that into account. We don't know. He didn't mention. He just said there would be no effect. And that could be that they tweaked the algorithm somehow.
Right. Maybe so. The size of the map on the land has not really increased. It's about the same as it was.
Right.
So
adding those 2 islands was about
but
it.
Because there's less nodes, I imagine every node that was out there is now a little larger in size.
Right.
So that just means that your freeholds that you happen to put here, there, and everywhere will contribute to necessarily to less nodes, right? I don't think that freeholds will necessarily be impacted that much.
Yeah.
So, okay, fair enough.
Before we get to policies, there is one thing I wanted to say. He did talk to us about something about buffer zones of 20 nodes and that live in a max state.
Okay.
That's a big bowl of word salad.
Can I share how I interpreted that?
Well, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, here's what I think that means, but I agree. I had to rewatch it a couple of times. Do I understand this correctly? I think I do, but I have no idea. So, comment. We would love to hear comments, right? So you have only 5 that reach tier 6. That means that their adjacent nodes are locked out of tier 6.
Right.
But they can reach to tier 5, and then the adjacent nodes to those can reach tier 4, etc., etc.
Okay.
There are 20 nodes. Let me get this right.
so
once
basically this tree that we're
advance,
seeing that shows us, what does it show us? 6.
Yes.
It shows us 6, so 12. So basically there will be 8 more potential nodes that could be attached to that tier 6. Is that what they're saying?
I don't know if it's initially per tier 6, right? But what I think is that 20 nodes live in the maximum state. Of all of the 85 nodes, that's as far as you can advance them, of those 20. Now, yes, I agree, word salad after that.
I would have liked them to have some sort of map and basically illustrating whatever this mechanic is that he's talking about. You got these 20
I'd love
nodes,
an example.
because he talked about, if that tier 6 node falls, that it gets redistricted, and then it changes the map and things like that. Again, I would like to have seen something that would have visually
tell me a story.
Me. Right?
Yeah, I'd like a story.
Because some things I'm great. I can hear it and I get it. Some things I want to see it to understand it. And this is one of those things. It would have been nice to see some sort of visualization of what is the effect of that actually collapsing, that node falling to a siege on the surrounding stuff, as opposed to just throwing out jargon.
The theory.
The jargon is what that is, and not mentioning it. So, so that was it. That's my last issue about nodes is I'd like to understand that mechanic, but I don't get whatever it is that he said. So
sure. I don't think I do either, apparently. So hey, we're all on the same page.
So policies, as you were saying.
Okay, yes, policies. So, and this is much easier to understand, fortunately, for our small. Maybe we are hammer brains.
Could be.
Marks. Maybe we just need to accept that about ourselves.
Right.
Okay. Policies. So every node has slots of perks that they can put in place. Now we saw the similar. New World had this as well, right? Where the mayor, in that case it was the governor, but the mayor can say, but in this case there's a voting mechanic that happens. So the mayor has X that are available to him and says, hey, you know what, here's one that gives us a bonus to 5% gathering speed within this territory. I'd like to put this up for a vote by the citizens. Would you like this? And they can say yay or nay. If they say yes, goes into effect over X amount of time. Now, as a mayor, I can, if I'm maybe a little bit unscrupulous myself, use some of my influence points. Not sure what that mechanic necessarily is. More to come on that, I imagine. Where I can shorten that vote. If I want to make it an hour, I make it an hour. And then whoever's not online just is out of luck, right? They show up and, hey, well, what do you mean this is... Now there could be some political cost to me having, shivved something through Congress.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right. Maybe not, who knows. So that's an interesting mechanic, right? So now what perks are available for those slots, i.e. the policies, depends on a bunch of things. One, it could be that because the Renkai, for instance, are they're a very populous group and they've been doing a lot of work and making achievements and whatever that happens to be, we get race-based perks available on that menu to be put up for a vote.
Right.
It may be that we achieve building a certain thing and now that's unlocked a perk for us, right?
You kill the giant in the mountains.
Right. Or one of the world bosses in the region, right? Or whatever happens to do will trigger the ability to put something on the menu that the mayor can then, and it's up to the mayor of obviously running the place to do a good job to select what actually matters to the citizenship.
Right, and one of the things they mentioned was potentially you could have martial law. It would make sense that you might be able to do martial law in a militaristic node, so not necessarily in a scientific node, possibly.
Maybe so, but honestly, what that was linked to was the happiness mechanic, right? They're calling it happiness. I like morale better. I don't know why happiness, but so happiness is a slider apparently, where if the morale of the city is high, we've been killing bosses, it unlocks certain policies for availability for selection, right? But there's also consequences to having low happiness, and it may be that certain perks become available to you, like martial law in this case. So not necessarily linked to military nodes, right? Okay. But you may be able to say, okay, there's a curfew in effect, right? And so you can't be out after night, and if you're out after a certain time in this node, maybe, the actual node guards may come after you. I don't know. I'm thinking this out, right? This is not in a wiki anywhere.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Curfew? I mean,
yeah.
But
so there is let me throw that out there. Could be completely wrong, but I think that's pretty cool. If that's where this is going, right? The ability to having low happiness.
What if I can't afford an apartment? Like, do I have to hide in a bush?
Your rogue skills better be high. You might want to pick rogue as your secondary.
I guess everybody can be a rogue. I guess that is true.
You go around and hide in bushes, right? So
yeah, I mean, I like this stuff. I don't know if I like the happiness, because I mean, the node could be going along swimmingly, but I'm not happy with the direction that things are going. So why would the happiness be high if I don't like what the mayor's doing?
Then you need to move, sir. You need to move out of the current state that you're in for another state.
You can't make me move again, darn it.
Right. Why do people move? Because they're unhappy where they are. It's usually with some aspect, right? It's the nature of things. So there's a lot in nodes. I mean, like, we covered things here that there's probably a good chance we misunderstand some of this. Again, we appeal to our audience, you poor souls. Clarify for us if there's something we don't quite understand, or you think you understand it better. Offer that. We would love to be able to interact with that in the comments for sure.
Yes, for sure. All right, let's wrap up with talking about caravans.
All right, and we know this one's going long, so we're going to make this fast, right? Yep. Caravans. You have the ability to launch them. So you go to the caravanserai. It's a building in town that can be upgraded, and it has additional perks if you do. You say, okay, I have a wheel and I have a chassis, right? I have an axle or whatever you do, and each one of those are parts that may be able to beef up certain aspects of the caravan. It's travel speed, or its ability to go around corners.
He mentioned its turning radius, yeah.
Right. And if you don't have that part, it'll offer one for you that is very simple, maybe, right? The lowest stat that you can have. Right. But you put this thing together and you say, okay, this is the amount of space I want to use. Here's what I want to move in that caravan. Here's a block of that you can have this, and here's a block of you can have this. Right, everybody has and they can fill it, and then the caravan becomes ready to launch.
Right.
Now what, Mox?
Well, then when you launch as the caravan master, I guess, Steven said that your view kind of changes to an overhead view of the node, and there's like a circle around the node at like 100 or 150 meters that you get to pick where the caravan will spawn. Now, the reason for that is that you could potentially have people, I guess, that are like spying on the caravanserai, and they want to see when is a caravan going to be going out. I want to, attempt to ambush it. So by being able to pick a random spot outside the node to depart from, you can limit that to some degree. Now the node isn't that big. You can run across the node in a couple minutes, but you still can, have like a head start of some sort. So, and then you and your group can teleport to that caravan that spawns in, depending on how much upgrading is done. I think Steam says between like 2 and 5 minutes, it will appear, and then you can teleport to it and be on your way.
And escort it and hopefully manage to be
right.
Okay, so now you're moving across country. Obviously the raiders have a chance to have a shot at it. You're trying to repel them. There's a possibility you may be able to route through the underworld, the underrealm, to be able to get there. So there's and I believe you can steer this thing however you want. Now good luck, because there's choke points, right? So you've got to figure out how to pull that off. I think that's part of the challenge is actually guiding it to safety. Now your job is to get it across the finish line, which is a radius of the caravanserai in another node. Right. You get across that line, and you're safe. Right. The guards come out, they escort you the rest of the way. You're okay.
Right. And if you're proceeding on, it can be a safe for now type situation. Like you may go from let's take Dallas and Fort Worth as an example. If I was taking a caravan from Fort Worth to Dallas, I might stop in Arlington's node and take a break, because you're safe once you get inside that radius, and while you're in the node, you can't be attacked, and then you can move on.
Right. Call it for the day. If you're getting hit real hard, you may just say, hey, let's leave it there for the day. Everyone go do something else. We'll reconvene at 3 a.m. Right. Yeah. Something like that. So you have those safety zones, or you could just bypass it entirely and keep going to your destination node if it's 2 or 3 nodes away, maybe. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
So you can pit stop, and that's very good. The ability to relaunch from there.
And naval caravans work exactly the same way. They can carry more things, but you're going over water, and as we mentioned in the last episode, as soon as you get outside of that port, you are flagged for PvP, which I think is pretty much the same as the caravans are automatically flagged as well. Those are roaming PvP zones as well. So I don't think that differs at all. Yeah. But you're going to go from port to port. Also interesting I wonder how dangerous the edges of the pancake are. Like, could you go out to the edge and go around as opposed to going the straightest way and avoid stuff, or will there be Kraken out there on the edges and stuff?
Yes. Well, they did say that there is some PvE challenge in the water too. Yeah. You may get a Kraken if you get out to the edge. So who knows? Yep. I think that would be awesome.
All right.
Very
You'll
cool.
have to check this out in Alpha 2. All the stuff is planned to be available in Alpha 2. My big question about all of this is, once this node goes under, has noticed that it's going under siege, I think Steven said you get like a 5-day notice or something like that.
Yeah,
I forget the number of days, but it's several days. So does the caravanserai shut down at that point, and you don't have the option of pulling in there for safety? Or if you accidentally pull into that, are your goods now stuck because you can't move things out of a node that's under siege? Do the caravanners need to research all the nodes between point A and their end? How does that work, or does it just not show up as a safe port, and you can kind of go around? You have to go around it and say la vie, you can't stop there.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of that Brad Pitt movie, World War Z, right? Where you're going to take off and you're going to land in such and such a place, but you're not even sure it's there, and you hope it is, right? That's the kind of a thing, right? Like how dangerous the world may be. Who knows?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think that there is certainly going to be that kind of risk, and you are going to have to keep an eye on what's going on around the server. And if there's a node that is under siege, chances are you don't want to take a caravan into a war zone.
Probably.
unless you want to really skirt around, maybe that's the perfect time to do it because everyone's so involved in the war. You can slip a caravan out, some.
Well, I wouldn't want to go in while it's being attacked, but I'm talking about the lead up to it. Can Is it?
Well,
is it
if they shut
disabled?
down services, I imagine the Caravanserai is one of the services that may be shut down.
Right.
And you don't have that you can take advantage of.
Well,
so,
Steven has said
absolutely.
once you're under siege, you can't move goods. So I would assume that the Caravanserai would get shut down as one of the first things.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
Now, again, just to let all of our folks know, we haven't necessarily been looking at the wiki for this. We have at some stage. It's being updated right now, so much of this is conjecture. Much of this is trying to think this through, right? We are informed to some degree, but if you have clarifications to offer, that's more than welcome.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear from you. All right.
One last thing. The reveal for the most useless fantasy class of all time will be next month.
The Rangers.
The Rangers are well known across all fantasy games to be the ones.
Now, are you talking about Fort Worth baseball? Or are you talking about classes in this game?
Right.
Sorry, another bad joke.
Yeah. So there's going to be an AMA in October after the Ranger reveal and the gameplay showcase for that. We'll have some stuff to talk about next month with Ashes, which is good.
Very good.
All right, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/DisparateWorlds, on Twitter at DisparateWorlds, and our website, disparateworlds.org. We are also on Patreon at patreon.com/you guessed it, Disparate Worlds. In addition, on our website and in the description below is a link to our Discord. Please join us there.
Indeed. Mox, we promised him we would only give these about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, we're at a half hour now, right?
We're up to 30. Cutting this down to 2 episodes. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Very much appreciate you joining us. Drop a comment. We would love to hear from you, as always. Do the like, the subscribe thing, the notification bell, because we're going to keep this content coming. And if you can stomach it, then we would love to have you along for the ride. So don't miss the upcoming episodes. You've got a ton more coming. So heads up on that. That's it. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for joining us. Remember always to be immovable in your principles and irresistible in your passion.